How's it going, my friends? Back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about a continuous light that I have added into the mix. You guys know that I don't do a ton of non-Z related gear videos, and that's really just because we have a minimalist setup, and if I'm gonna review something, it's only going to be something that we're actually going to use, and we are very, very sensitive about adding different things to our gear setup. You guys know that we're minimalists. We like to not show up to a wedding with a bunch of freaking stuff, a bunch of bags and all that. We want to keep things very, nimble and, agile and just able to grab our stuff and just move to the next thing and focus on the photos. So if I'm going to add in a piece of gear or do a video review, it's going to be something that is really necessary and really enhances our setup. So it's a continuous light, it's an ice light, but let me just back up for a second and just kind of go over an overview of like our shooting style and why we actually incorporate these continuous lights rather than just speed lights. So we do have speed lights, and we have this continuous light that I've been using. So this is the blaze light, and it's a flashlight, and this thing's freaking sweet. I mean, for portraits, I've used this like a lot. I really have. It's very nice. It's well made. It's like you can pull it in and out to do the spread. It has a dimmer on it. It's a nice light, but there's some limitations to it, and those limitations I've kind of dealt with just because of the fact that it's powerful and it's very easy just to put in my bag and carry around with me. It doesn't get in the way. But yeah, obviously you need to change the shape of the light sometimes. This is circular. The spread is, especially if you're not really far away with it, it's not the best. And also, obviously, this is only 5,000 Kelvin units, so it's only one color, so you're limited. If you just want to use, black and white, looks great, but, a lot of times we want to add in RGB colored lights, and the problem has been is we can't find a light that ticks all the boxes. It's either you can have something that's RGB that isn't that powerful, kind of cheaply made, doesn't have good barn doors, just doesn't have like all the kind of extra things that you need, or you can have one like a Westcott light that basically just has, it's a nice light, it's really nice, but it's super expensive and it doesn't have RGB. So I haven't been able to find something that has everything, like the best of both worlds, so I've just been using this blaze light. Enter the Godox LC500r. Okay, so we added this thing into the mix here, and I want you guys to understand that nowadays there's some really cool lighting out there, and there's really good tools that you guys can use, and you shouldn't just be relying on speed lights for your portraits. Yes, we have speed lights. Obviously, we bring those to every wedding, and you need them. I can't get rid of my speed lights, but it's really important that you have some type of continuous light on site when you're shooting these portraits, because not all the time you can do what needs to be done with a speed light in terms of portraits, and not all the time do you need the power that comes out of a speed light. Yes, there are some times where you really need to overpower, a bright sun or, the ambient light, or you need a long throw or something like that, but speed lights take a little bit longer to set up. Yeah, we know how to do them. We know how to set our triggers and get them going pretty fast, but there's a huge benefit to being able to work with a continuous light and seeing your shot before you actually press the shutter button. The combination of continuous lights with mirrorless cameras now make things, okay, some photographers are going to hate me saying this. They make things a lot easier, but who cares if they make it easier if they're making you more creative and they're allowing you to get your ideas into reality. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it's about, guys. It's not about, picking up the most complicated gear and being like, oh, I'm the only person who knows how to use this, and like you have to, be shooting for 5 years before you figure this out. I don't really care about that. I just want something that's easy as hell for me to set up. Doesn't take a lot of, figuring out, and then I could just start to translate my ideas into real photos. So that's why we use the continuous lights. Not all the times are they going to work, but a lot of times they do, and you can have amazing portraits with these continuous lights nowadays. So let's talk about the LC500r. First of all, you get this sweet carrying case. You like that? It's very nice. It's like solid. You don't have to worry about if you're gonna, you're on a wedding, you just take it, throw it on a table, something like that. It has a little handle. When I come into a wedding now, I just have my messenger bag with my, cameras. I have this blaze light. I have, my batteries. We go through this in the master class that we're filming, but I have a messenger bag with my stuff, throw it over my shoulder, and then I'm carrying this thing in. Super easy. It's not imposing. It's not like when I show up, it's like, well, you know, what's this media guy doing with all these cameras and all this stuff? It's not like that. I'm walking in, you know, I'm dressed well, I just have my messenger bag and then this thing, and everyone's like, you know, I'm not making a big scene on my entrance. And I can't tell you how important that is. Like, you know, you just don't want to be the star of the show. Like, that's the bride and the groom. That's what's going on. You want to kind of fade into the background as much as you can, so that means minimize your gear. So, you have this carrying case that comes with it. It's really nice. And so, if you open it up here, look at this. Oh, I mean, it's amazing. So, let's start off with the thing right off the bat that I don't like, okay? And, Godox, I don't know what you're doing with this, but the barn doors, when you're using an ice light, you got to get something with barn doors. You have to. Just the shape of the light, you're going to want to make sure that that light is contained for certain photos, and then obviously a wider strip of it. You just need the barn doors. But the problem is when you this has two sides to it. It has the regular side of the light, which is just the, you know, like the normal light, which is like a little bit, you can turn the tone a little bit warmer or colder. But then if you want to do the RGB side, that's on the other side. So if you turn it on here, you have the regular light on this side and then colored light on this side. But the problem is these barn doors don't fold all the way to the back. What you have to do is you have to freaking pop this thing off. See, this is what I'm saying. It's not easy. It's like, yeah, it comes off like that, and then you turn around the barn doors to the other side. Godox, I mean, look, I love you guys. I use your gear all the time, and we have been for years. But I mean, what were you thinking with these barn doors? And you know, you could probably get better with, you know, doing it as, you know, the time goes on, but it's just not the best setup. It just seems to me that you could have developed a barn door setup where everything just wraps around and you don't have to pop it off like this. So that was a big drawback, but it's definitely not something that's going to hold me up from the light, because as I'll go into, this has so many other strengths that it makes it worth every penny, honestly. But I hope they come out with a new iteration of this thing where the barn doors just wrap around to each side. That's the bad part. Let's talk about the good stuff. So like I said, it has the benefit. When I was using my blaze light, yeah, it's really nice, it's powerful, you know, it's super easy to use. But the problem is it's only one color temperature. When we want to come up with some more creative lighting, you know, different colors, which you don't see all the time with photography, and it can really set you apart if you're starting to incorporate, you know, different color, RGB, greens, pinks, reds, blues, all this stuff. Not a lot of people use it in photography. They really don't, because it's not easy. It has to be done well and tastefully. You can't just blast somebody with a colored light and be like, oh, it's so creative. You have to actually, you know, compose and like match your RGB color coming from your ice light with the ambient light, and vice versa. You got to kind of know what you're doing, know your color palettes and all that. But once you do, I mean, you can set yourself apart like crazy with these. So it's really nice having both sides. Yeah, you have your original side, which is your, you know, and I know that this is black and white. Obviously, I'm going to do some B-roll stuff so you guys can see the actual color. But this side right here is the normal, you know, either warmer or colder light, just regular light on the face. And then if you hit the mod button down here, it flips over to the RGB side. And so what it has is a little dial right here, and you just go through, cycle through, and it changes the color of the light as you're cycling through. Now, it does take a long time to get from one color spectrum all the way to the end, but honestly, I really liked it. You could have had, you know, buttons on it to punch in a red or a blue real quick, or a green or something like that. But I'm telling you, just from like, and this is the stuff that you can't know unless you're on site actually using it, but it actually helped me to come up with new ideas for photos. As I was sitting there and I was just cycling through the colors, I was like, you know, I might have been thinking blue, and I was like, oh, actually, you know what? Green actually looks really good. Or I came up with a pink for a couple of these photos, and I was like, oh, that actually looks really good. So taking a second to cycle through the colors was actually helping me become more creative with it. It's actually really nice. So you have the RGB side and the regular side, but then you also have your dim button, so you can actually change the intensity of it up or down. Most of the time I was just leaving it at high intensity at 100, and you know, that was fine. And just moving it like a little bit further away if I, you know, it was looking like the highlights were getting blown out or something like that. But the intensity, let me talk about the intensity of this light. Now, this is one of the biggest reasons why we couldn't find the right ice light, is because you had certain lights that were pretty intense, but they were super expensive, and then they didn't really have any of the colors. This has best of both worlds. The regular side, with just the warmer to colder tone, is crazy powerful. And the RGB side, with the colors, is crazy powerful too, which is like insane, because normally it's just like, you know, you can use an ice light, but it really, the ambient light has to be pretty low. Like, that was one of the biggest things with us in looking for an ice light, is like, okay, we're gonna, you know, invest some money into this, but we're only gonna be able to use it at night. No, like, we want something that, because when we show up at a wedding, it's like we're showing up at like 11 a.m. to 12, you know, around there, when they're getting their hair and makeup done, and we're shooting portraits from then all the way to the end. We wanted something that we can use in hotel rooms, even outside. Like, we were using this light to do portraits when there was ambient light outside. It was like kind of like later in the day, but it was the daytime still. And we just went into like a shaded area and used it, and it was like great at filling in the, you know, the shadows on the face and giving a little bit of catch light in the eye. There's so many things that you can do when you have more power, because normally we're so used to relying on speed lights for portraits during the day, but when you can have continuous lights, I mean, man, the possibilities really are endless, because you can compose the shot and you can see what you're looking at right when you're, you know, about to shoot it, which is so nice. So this thing is freaking sweet. I'm doing basically an introduction preliminary video just to let you guys know, hey, we've added this to the bag and the mix. And what we're going to do is a series of behind the scenes stuff at a few more of our jobs coming up, to where we're showing you the actual process, okay? I know that that's been one of the biggest things that you guys have asked for in this channel, is for us to show you guys how we actually come up with the shots on site, somebody filming. But I just can't explain to you how difficult it is to be on a wedding, actually being paid to do a job, coming up with the creative shots, and then remembering to actually film it while you're on site, or, you know, because it's a collaborative process with Sarah and I, and you'll see this in the masterclass, but Sarah and I work together. It's not like, oh, one person shooting, the other person just sitting there doing nothing. It's like, no, we're both collaborating on the photo, and then we come up with something creative, we shoot it, and then we're like, oh damn, we should have got behind the scenes content. It's just really tough. But what we're doing is we're going to actually start filming this and putting the behind the scenes stuff on our Instagram, so you guys can actually see us coming up with the photos, you know, live behind the scenes as we do it. Another thing is the battery life with this I wanted to touch on is, you know, the battery life. Godox does a great job in their batteries anyways. They're high quality batteries. We've used this on 4 weddings so far, and I've only had to charge it once. It still has power. So it's not something that you're actually, I mean, honestly, like, you're not going to be using it all day, obviously, but it's not something that's going to die on you. Battery's amazing on it. And that's a big deal, because I just keep telling you guys over and over, the least amount you have to think about your gear, the better. So this ticks all those boxes. I'm recommending this. I'm officially recommending the Godox LC500r, and I can't wait to just like show you guys more behind the scenes with us actually using this, because it's freaking fun. Don't hesitate to put a continuous light in your bag. You need one. I'm telling you, as a wedding photographer nowadays, portrait photographer, you need a constant light. Don't just have flashes. Yes, you need flashes for certain times, but you need, in terms of creative portraits, you need a continuous light, and you have to mix it with something that's got the power, that's easy portability, has battery life, and that can give you a wide range all across the color spectrum, because there's endless photo opportunities when you can come up with different colored lights. So besides the barn doors, I have no complaints with this thing. We're keeping it in the bag for sure. So, you know, stay tuned for way more in-depth analysis on this. You know how it is. If you guys have been following my channel, you know that if I do a video on something and I'm adding it to our setup, you're going to see way more of that content, you know, down the road in different videos, just because, you know, this is how we shoot photos now. We're integrating this into our process. So I'll put more YouTube videos up on this for sure, and you know, make sure you follow our Instagram to get the behind the scenes stuff. And if you have any other questions on the LC500R, I don't have affiliate links or anything like that. It's just something I'm recommending. Definitely just leave it in the comments. Reach out, send me a DM or something like that, and I can answer it for you. You know, it's just a light I think everybody could use, especially if you're a wedding photographer. So hope this was helpful, and until the next video, my friends.